I am TapeGoat. I am sitting in my basement in a blanket hoodie. It is 9 degrees outside with a low of -7. It is a chilly day. I am here to have a wonderful conversation with one of my good friends, the editor.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Doing good.
So let's get down to brass tacks. Seen any good movies lately, boy?
Take a look at my letterbox.
An update on TapeGoat's usage of Letterboxd. I have one review on there. I watched Little Miss Sunshine the other day, and it occurred to me when it was over to pull out my phone, get on the app, and write my bestest attempt at an eloquent Chicago Sun-Times quality review. So go check it out if you get any time. TapeGoat on Letterboxd.
I feel like I watched a lot of movies since we last spoke, but the big standouts for me were probably rewatches of Raising Arizona, The Darjeeling Limited, and Escape from New York. I also watched La La Land. So those are all big. Those are all pretty.
That's a nice lineup.
Yeah.
A couple of good classics in there.
Yeah, La La Land was disappointing, I think. Did not hold up for me.
There's something about that movie where I can't necessarily say that it is not a finely crafted film, but it doesn't necessarily vibe with me. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't relate.
I don't know if it knows exactly what it is. It doesn't feel very confident one way or the other on what it's supposed to be.
It's one of those Los Angeles Stan movies. One of those, the city of Los Angeles is so beautiful with its rich history of showtimes.
Almost kind of, Sarah and I both kind of felt similarly, but I think that it would have worked better as a normal movie. It didn't seem to really call for being a musical.
Yeah.
And it kind of muddied on what the movie was supposed to be about. Especially with him being like a jazz musician who's kind of got to stick up his ass about fun music.
Yeah, he's too pretentious for his own good.
But then he's in a musical.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's hard. It just makes it, it's a stupid complaint, but
it's another way for Ryan Gosling to show off those skills. I have to commend the guy. He is a Renaissance man. He is a man to be reckoned with.
Well, that's the thing. It's fun to watch because there's so much craft in the movie. I think it's like the whole project itself seems to be lacking in direction in a way that it's sort of surprising for that director.
I am a fan of Whiplash. I still think to this day that the personal touch of Whiplash carried it pretty far. I actually have not really given it past La La Land. I haven't seen First Man. I've heard good things about First Man.
I picked it up. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, I've heard good things, and
Babylon's wonderful.
It's an interesting subject that I feel like surprisingly has not gotten a lot of attempts at coverage in cinema. The moon landing and those Apollo missions.
Escape from New York, though, I saw that in a fairly packed theater in
nice.
Eagle Rock.
Perfect.
This place called Vidiots, which is such a cool place, especially from like a VHS video history standpoint. They used to be an old video rental store that ended up, I think, merging with a movie theater next door, and then now it's one kind of bar, movie theater, video rental store place.
Oh,
and
very cool.
Sounds
like paradise.
They have 2 screens, and they awesome programming. I mean, and it's pretty affordable. I think the ticket I bought was $10, and the popcorn plus the soda was also $10.
Was this the first movie you saw at this venue?
I've seen a few movies there, actually. I saw Perfect Blue, which is a Satoshi Kon Japanese anime movie.
Very, very disturbing but beautiful anime film.
I actually saw it twice last year, which is probably too many times.
I saw it for the first time last year, 2023, because it was on Shudder.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
All of his movies are great. If you haven't seen Tokyo Godfathers, really great.
Yeah, it's on my radar. I need to go down the Satoshi Kon rabbit hole.
I also saw A Serious Man right after Christmas at Vidiots.
Oh, same here. I picked it up on streaming. I purchased it because I love that movie and I want to be able to watch it whenever.
Amazing. We haven't talked about that, I don't think.
No, not on the pod. I mean, it's honestly, it's a movie that we discovered together, so it is a pretty special movie for the two of us. We used to watch it a lot.
My first time I saw it, I actually saw the first time seeing it, I saw it with my dad at the Ritz 5 or whatever the larger Ritz theater is in Philly.
Right by the Delaware River.
Me and my dad saw it together, and I don't think he really didn't like it very much, but I was super captivated by it.
Yeah, I remember we had a little set of downloaded films. We pirated it. We had A Serious Man and we had Trash Humpers, and we watched both films quite a lot. That was when that movie came out. It was, it got nominated for Best Picture. It did get commended by filmgoers.
The thing on this last viewing for me that stuck out so much was the relationship between Larry and his brother.
Yeah,
it's the first time.
touching.
It's the first time I think I've realized that his brother is sort of suggested to be both neurodivergent and queer.
Also potentially maybe schizophrenic. I think like with the Mentaculus, it almost seems like there's like this kind of because I feel like I've seen notebooks depicted of people with schizophrenia that look like that.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It kind of has that feeling to it. But it's also funny that there are a couple situations in the movie they suggest that the Mentaculus might actually work.
Yeah, that there's like an odd, it actually connects. It's like a chaos theory or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Which is great. Yeah, the movie deals a lot. And I think that fits the Coens. It's probably their most personal film because it's definitely meant to, depict growing up in a Jewish neighborhood in the Midwest in the 60s. And just that that era and climate and that culture, the family
dynamic. What's funny
dynamic.
about it too is it does feel very universal, though. I mean, I knew nothing about that culture going into that movie, but I felt like a lot of the stuff going on really resonates with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a movie that sort of is about a midlife crisis, the worst midlife crisis of all time.
God's imposed midlife crisis.
Yes, God. It's the Book of Job. Just what happens is a midlife crisis. Although it gets pretty bleak at the end.
Yeah.
The last thing that happens in the movie is definitely very bleak. Yeah, it hits. It's not a positive outlook, I feel like, by the end of the movie. I wonder if the Coen brothers are fun guys to hang out with.
It might be one of those things where like one of them is and the other one isn't.
I think Ethan seems like a fun guy. He's the producer one, so he's the one who's always whining and dining.
And who's the one who's got the movie coming out?
That's Ethan.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
And that looks like a fun movie. Whereas I think some of the other ones that I've seen from Joel, I guess,
they seem
a little more serious.
The Tragedy of Macbeth. Did he do another one other than that? The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Yeah, I think he did. Was the Ballad of Buster Scruggs both of them?
That was the last thing that they made together, and I love that movie too. That's one of the movies that I come back to every now and then, and I
should give that
just
another
watch
chance.
it. It's cool. I mean,
I remember just being very excited to see Tom Waits.
Tom Waits, and his segment is probably one of the strongest segments in the whole movie. It was a great utilization of Tom Waits. He definitely, anybody who knows Tom Waits knows that
his
he could definitely
is awesome.
Yeah, he could play a mean prospector.
Have you seen most of the movies that he's in? I wonder.
Oh, sure. I mean, I never realized it until I was older that I was exposed to Tom Waits as early as the 90s when I saw Mystery Men. Which is a cherished
great
film.
Mystery Men. He's the non-lethal arms dealer, which I love.
Yeah, who's also like a swinger who's into elderly people and goes to nursing homes to pick up women.
Yeah, that's right. And he's in the beginning of the movie too, because that's what their the initial
the beginning of
thing is. Yeah,
it's in like a weird Joel Schumacher Batman nursing home.
I feel like he was. Have you seen Shortcuts?
No, but I know stuff about it. It's Altman.
Yeah, he's in that.
Julianne Moore, I think.
I haven't seen a bunch of these. I mean, yeah, he's in The Fisher King.
Yeah, he's in a lot of Terry Gilliam stuff. He was in the Jim Jarmusch, Down by Law.
Have you ever seen Mystery Train? I just picked up a couple of silly movies.
What'd you get? What'd you get?
Wall Street.
Okay.
Slumdog Millionaire.
Good one. Haven't seen it in a minute.
I haven't seen Slumdog Millionaire since I was probably in high school.
When did it come out? 2007?
2008.
2008. It was the year after There Will Be Blood and No Country were at the Oscars, which was probably one of the last years that I truly cared about what was going on at the Academy Awards.
I always pretend that I don't care, but I do care.
I think I just miss a lot of the movies nowadays. I end up seeing them so much longer after the ceremony. And then most of the time, the news that I read is mostly about how stupid people were acting or how shit went horribly wrong or it was boring.
I saw a Reddit comment about, because the Golden Globes, I didn't watch it, but apparently the Golden Globes were a big failure.
Yeah, Joe, what's his name? Joe Coy, the host, bombed really hard and blamed the writers.
Bad luck.
Yeah, not a classy move.
I saw a Reddit comment that was like, they need to find somebody who plays the character of a jokey host to do this stuff, not like a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, people forgot that there is a type. There's an exact type.
They should get Joe Pera or John Wilson or someone
to
host it. Somebody who's just really low-key, low energy.
I would even say that you just get Billy Crystal again. He's still alive.
Just get Billy Crystal again. Let's roll Billy Crystal out here.
Just have Billy Crystal host everything. He's he's not that old. He's 75. He can still swing a microphone.
Didn't he do that? Didn't he do a revival host?
Billy Crystal?
Yeah, didn't he do something sort of recently?
He's been hosting award ceremonies for a really long time.
Yeah.
I think that's
he was the host of the Oscars for 3 or 4 years, I feel.
Yeah, people like him and Steve Martin, they always did really good jobs. It's it's one particular type of comedian who could host those
John
awards.
Mulaney would be a fantastic Oscars host.
Yeah, they've gone through some shit over the years with the Oscar hosts. I remember one year it was Anne Hathaway and James Franco.
James Franco, that was the worst.
Such a bizarre decision.
Yeah, terrible.
I'd really love to be in the room to see why they decided to roll with that decision. I'm trying to think of who else would be a good personality.
Maybe. Yeah, who's your dream Oscar host?
Tim Robinson.
That actually is perfect. That is what it should be. It should be Tim Robinson.
I bet he could do it perfectly. David Lynch. I know David Lynch could do it. He would be great. He would just take it.
Why don't they have somebody? I think somebody weird is better, or maybe someone who's not going to try to make jokes or be funny, but just. What about Paul Giamatti?
Maybe. He's kind of. I've never heard him quip. I've never known him to be a quippy type.
I've heard him quip. Did you see The Holdovers?
It's on Peacock, so I will be watching that soon because I heard great things about it.
Must see.
And everybody's been raving about it. I've missed a lot of the big ones. I got to see Poor Things. I think we'll probably watch Saltburn here soon.
Oh man, my parents watched Saltburn.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did they like it?
They didn't hate it. They didn't love it. I think that's kind of my reaction too.
A lot of people who I know who have seen it have said that it's a weird movie. That's mostly the main consensus. I know nothing about it, and I'm gonna go in to my viewing knowing very little. I also just saw I do have an Apple TV subscription. I saw that Killers of the Flower Moon is now available for free, so I can just watch that whenever I want. I definitely want to watch that. Heard great things about it. Love Mr. Scorsese's. I love your work. Let's get some coffee sometime. After Hours, baby. That's my. I'm looking at that one. It's amazing. It's a great film. I highly recommend it. I think that maybe we had been chatting about it before, but it's kind of funny. It was around the time, like pretty near to the time that I saw Beau is Afraid, which, is a hard to characterize movie. It's pretty unique. And then I watched After Hours, and they're not exactly the same, but I would say it's as in an earlier film, it's one of the closest things I can relate to the tone of Beau is Afraid, if you're going to compare it to another movie, because it has this kind of nightmare logic.
Sure.
The plot. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's great. It's an opus.
Yeah, John compared it to the Jeff Daniels movie.
Oh, Something Wild. It's not, because from what I remember, Something Wild is like kind of a road movie, right? Like it kind of turns into a road movie towards the second half.
Kind of.
After Hours isn't really a road movie. It's basically, it's about a guy trying to get from one part of New York to another part of New York, and just constantly getting led astray into, various situations. They do have a similar vibe where they kind of just start.
Some guys like in over their head.
Well, they just kind of start. I think that's another aspect of Something Wild is the plot of the movie.
Yeah, he like skips out on a tab. And this girl who's like, I bet this guy's a troublemaker at heart.
Yeah, she wisps him up into the world, down the rabbit hole, and
by saving.
It's Melanie Griffith.
Yeah,
and she's designed to look like the character from Pandora's Box. That's one thing I remember from
Something Wild. Actually, made me pretty anxious watching it, which is funny. Like it is a funny movie and it's sort of silly, but it's pretty anxiety-inducing because it does feel like something really terrible is going to happen.
Yeah.
At any minute.
And it leads up to something pretty terrible.
Sure. But if you don't know that going into the movie,
it's more just like the cavalier, like, because he kind of makes some super, super irresponsible decisions. It's one of those that kind of anxiety, I get, or like like Uncut Gems, maybe watching somebody make destructive decisions that end without fear of consequence, which is,
What a crazy, that is like The Player has a lot of moments like that.
Oh, yeah.
When he's sitting there talking about, like, when he outs himself for being at the movie theater in that scene when he's sitting at the big room trying to impress everybody. And he's like, oh, yeah, I go to the theater all the time. No, I saw 400 Blows last night. And they're like, where did you see that? Pasadena? All the way?
Right.
And you can see it on his face. You're like, oh, shit, why did he just volunteer that information?
Yeah.
What an idiot.
It's almost like sort of in line with like the Ben Stiller format of comedy, the kind of anxiety comedy.
It makes my heart race, that kind of stuff. That I feel like that's true uncomfortability in cinema for me, is watching somebody make a fool of themselves in slow motion is like tough.
Right? Yeah, you get that compassionate, that empathetic
even
feeling.
If for somebody terrible who has it who deserves it, like in The Player, where you're like, this guy deserves to be locked up.
Yeah, Tim Robbins is a piece of shit in that movie.
Yeah, but you root for him because of because it's just how perspective in movies work, but it's wild.
Altman doesn't really give you a choice.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody else is also like, in that movie, sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's part of it is just depicting the world of the LA, Hollywood culture just in general.
It's becoming one of
cynical.
my favorite, like, hyper-specific genre is, like, critical of LA period movie. Like,
yeah, I'm trying. What's a good
like
example of
dark
that?
LA hellscape style of movies. So many of them.
Does Magnolia kind of fit? I feel like Magnolia fits in.
I know. I got to rewatch Magnolia.
It's been so long, man. I used to watch that movie
it's hard
all
to
the
find.
time.
It's not. That's a tough one. It's not streaming anywhere consistently. I feel like a lot of that stuff, a lot of the Weinstein stuff is kind of tricky to get nowadays.
Yeah. All the Weinstein stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
The pollution is
Dogma
everywhere.
was tough to find, you know,
I'm sure that went out of print.
which made it even more disappointing when I watched it. I was like, oh yeah, it's Kevin Smith.
I feel like a lot of Kevin
Sucks.
Smith stuff in retrospect.
It's like hard to find. It's like, oh yeah, I haven't seen Dogma forever. I finally found it. It's never streaming, and then you watch it and you're like, this is entertaining, I guess. Honestly, I'm always just anytime Chris Rock is in a movie, I'm captivated. I love him in movies.
Yeah. He is the stoner comedy version of M. Night Shyamalan. He's got his place.
Who is?
He's always shooting in Jersey. He would never shoot
Kevin
anywhere
Smith?
else. Oh yeah, Kevin Smith. Although he did.
I thought you meant Chris Rock.
Oh, Chris Rock.
Like, interesting take.
Yeah, Chris Rock is just
Wow.
like M. Night Shyamalan. What, are you kidding me? I heard he even has a
M. Night
place.
Shyamalan, Chris Rock. That's the title.
I heard he even has a
M. Night
place.
Shyamalan, Chris Rock connection.
Right.
So yeah, I finally watched Legend.
Oh shit, it's going down. Just the theatrical.
I found it at Amoeba. I just watched the theatrical cut.
Okay.
I'll give it another go. Judging by I started the director's cut, but it opened with like a warning. It was like, hey, this is gonna look like shit in some places.
He will
Heads up.
Not necessarily that it's going to look like shit, mostly that it doesn't look as good as the theatrical transfer. Is the warning kind of.
And so then I was thinking like, well, I'm gonna watch both eventually. I should start with the one that looks like it did in theaters, at least, because I'm, interested in the visuals of it.
Yeah, and
Mostly.
I would also say, to kind of in support of the director's cut, I'm going to be a director's cut stan in this situation, because I think the what's impressive about that movie is still there to a degree in the theatrical cut. It almost just feels rushed. It feels rushed compared to the director's cut. I feel like the pace is better. So
Interesting.
So I would recommend it for that reason. But yeah, what would you say was your favorite moment from this Legend film?
Well, I feel like any moment I love the fact that the Satan demon Lucifer character is just like a stereotypical bright red,
Yes.
comically large horned, spiky toothed demon boy.
For reference to anyone who hasn't seen Legend, Tim Curry plays a demonic character named Darkness, and he looks like the Tenacious D devil.
It's exactly the same thing. That's Dave Grohl, right?
David Grohl plays the Tenacious D devil. Yeah.
Yes, it looks identical to that.
They probably took a lot of influence from Tim Curry's makeup.
So that's all that stuff is beautiful and just really well executed, and some of the coolest looking stuff. And I wish that it did look better, because it's almost like kind of hard to see what's going on.
Yeah.
At some points.
Yeah.
But I think also I just really had a hard time caring about the story.
It is.
And it felt very generic, and I just don't know. The whole unicorn thing is just a lot.
Yeah, it's a very, very bare bones, because it's one of those movies where he was really aspiring to the feeling of a Grimm's fairy tale, the old German legends and stuff like that
Sure.
Aren't always told with a very, I don't know how to describe it. It's not like a tautly written thing, but I think that it does.
Yeah, it just feels like to me, it felt like it was missing a hook. Like you watch it and you're like, okay, well, I've seen that many times.
Yeah.
And,
and even
like the Neverending Story even has, which I think is a very conventional fantasy thing, has like the hook of it being in a book.
Yeah. Because and like Neverending Story, it functions really, really well as a children's film. And I think that that's also a thing too, is that Legend is hard to market as either really for adults or for children, because Neverending Story has universal messages that apply to children built into it. Whereas I feel like Legend really is it's like an immersive kind of fantasy experience. But I will say that even the director's cut doesn't really offer anything more deeply thematic. I just think the director's cut, the story
I'm interested
is
to see it with the music is different as well.
Yeah,
right?
so the director's cut uses what I think is the original score, which was conducted by Jerry Goldsmith, whereas the theatrical version is Tangerine Dream, and which is it's kind of funny because Blade Runner also between cuts has different scores. I'm pretty sure that the original score, the theatrical, was also done by Tangerine Dream, but then the director's cut was done by like Vangelis or something, the Greek composer who did Chariots of Fire and stuff. But yeah, Legend has two scores, Tangerine Dream, Jerry Goldsmith. I think that the more traditional Jerry Goldsmith works better. Not to mention there's a musical motif in the director's cut that's not in the theatrical cut. That is
Do you think the idea behind the theatrical cut was to make something like more aligned with 1980s sensibilities?
I think that what it was their best attempt to make the movie marketable to children. But personally, they cut out a lot of more violent moments. They upped.
It's still fairly violent.
Yeah, it's got some violence in there, but it's not as drawn out. And also it's told in a completely different order, the way that they kind of present things to you. I think that the way that they present darkness in director's cut makes it easier to take him seriously. So one thing in particular.
Yeah, I just keep waiting for Saddam Hussein with a flappy head to come out.
He does. He looks like the South Park devil as well.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great, as much as we're ripping on it, anybody who's listening to this, just to look up a picture if you haven't seen it. It is very impressive makeup. And I had mentioned when we talked about it before that it was one of those situations where you gotta hand it to Tim Curry. He basically was putting up with torture just wearing that makeup.
You can't tell that it's him, which is also wild.
He's sexier. He's way sexier as that demon.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's definitely the main reason to watch the movie. Tom Cruise is terrible.
Yeah, and I feel like ultimately what the story is it's just Jack has to rise up and prove that he is a hero in the traditional sense of being a hero. And it doesn't really go much further than that. But
well, it's like the whole thing with the mirrors.
Oh, yeah, with the light and stuff. So that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, so here's the context of it. One of my favorite scenes from this movie is the Meg Mucklebones scene. Do you remember that scene with the swamp witch?
Yes.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah.
And that witch is played by a pretty recognizable character actor named Robert Picardo, who's in a lot of stuff. He was on Star Trek Voyager. He was in a bunch of Joe Dante movies, and he's pretty recognizable if you look up a picture of him. But he played.
I recognize.
Yeah, he played the Swamp Witch. But in the theatrical version, Jack just cuts his head off, cuts the Meg Mucklebone's head off. But in the director's cut, there's a little bit more of he manipulates Meg Mucklebones by using her vanity against her, by making her get distracted in his shield because his shield is reflective. And then while she's distracted, he cuts her head off. And I think that the storytelling is just slightly better. I will clarify one thing about why I recommend this movie and where what it is to me. I loved this movie when I was a kid. And one of the reasons, and it's an odd reason that I always enjoyed it, was around the time that I had heard about it, there was a show on the air, Nickelodeon, called The Wild Thornberrys. And a lot of people remember, but Tim Curry was a main character on that show. And I remember seeing his name in the credits, and my mom told me, she was like, Tim Curry played a big devil man in a movie. And for some reason, I got real obsessed with that. I was super obsessed with the idea of it. And then
That's awesome.
I watched that movie, and for some reason, it just blew me away that the guy who played Nigel Thornberry looked like that. Like a big scary devil man. Anyway, that's my precious childhood memory with this film.
It's so funny. That show just popped up in my radar yesterday, actually.
It's a great show.
Randomly. Yeah, it was a great show. It was kind of educational and sly. ways, which I always kind of appreciated.
There were two categories of Nickelodeon films, Nickelodeon television shows that I would watch when I was a kid. There were the ones that I would only watch by myself, like Rocko's Modern Life or Ren and Stimpy, and then there were a couple that the whole family would watch, and that was like Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys. So that
Yeah, because the Wild Thornberrys had like a conservationist message to it.
Yeah, it was definitely meant to get people enthusiastic about wildlife. I remember that show introduced me to the eye, which is, I don't know.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been obsessed with eyes, but for literally since I was a kid. Since I was like 11 years old, I've been obsessed with eyes. For the record, they got an eye at the Denver Zoo. And I got to see one in
really?
Yeah, I got to see one in person.
Oh,
I've gone
like
back a few
second
times.
drop on the pod about the Denver Zoo. That's exciting.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it was a special moment for me. I was like, I finally.
You know, I was really surprised to see that LA also had zoo lights.
Yeah, it's I feel.
Is it a thing?
I'm not sure. I had only ever heard of it
Sarah, do they have that? Zoo lights?
in Minnesota.
Yeah, where they like, in Minnesota, where they like do the zoo
And they set it up
lights for Christmas
with Christmas lights and give you hot
night tours.
They give you hot cocoa. It is funny that
They do it in Denver and they do it in LA. It's weird.
it's funny that this is
Yeah.
the second time zoo lights have come up on the podcast.
It won't be the last.
So zoos only exist so that these zoo light corporations can sweep in.
What they're actually doing, they're getting the animals to perform menial tasks that humans can't do.
They get the
because
monkeys,
they're too big, or their fingers
they-
aren't long enough, so they need like the eye.
They get the
Press
monkeys
the button
to
inside the shaft.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a list on Letterboxd of movies that have real monkey performances.
Dunstan checks in.
Dunstan Checks In was a big movie. If you're going to talk about movies from childhood, that was a big one for me.
Was Rob Schneider
maybe one of-
the bad guy in that movie?
I think it was Jason Alexander.
Dunstan checks in.
He was the hotel manager who was, I think, trying to,
Ooh.
get the monkey. I had weird ones. Like, it's funny to think, like, because everybody has their own, like, little personal canon of kids' movies. I had weird ones. Like, Brave Little Toaster was a big one for me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if a lot of kids were exposed to that a bunch.
It's kind of hard to find nowadays.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Babe was a big one for me, too. I loved Babe as a child. I thought it was just captivating.
Babe 2, Pig in the City is a masterpiece.
Both of them are great. I prefer the first one because of the farmer. And I love, was it Cromwell?
James Cromwell.
James Cromwell. Yeah.
Yeah.
His performance in that movie is pretty incredible.
He did not renew his contract for the second movie, clearly.
But the wife did.
Yeah. Well, that was the only reason I like the second one as an adult is just because I'm impressed by the animal acting. And it's like the majority of the movie is just animals. It did. It got nominated for Best Picture in the 1996 Academy Awards, the 68th Academy Awards, and it lost to Braveheart, which is kind of funny because George Miller was up for the Best Picture. So Mel Gibson, who pretty much started his career working with George Miller.
Is Mel Gibson Australian?
Yes, sort of.
Okay.
I think so. He's one of those people where he kind of is. He has dual citizenship, I think. But early on in his career, he was mostly just in Australian films.
Yeah, talk about the Oscars being terrible.
Apollo 13 was that year. Speaking of moon movies.
Babe lost to a bunch of bad movies. Lost to Braveheart multiple times for picture and director. Babe lost to James Cromwell, lost to Kevin Spacey.
I'll tell you, Braveheart.
Sense and Sensibility beat out Babe.
Braveheart rules, though, dude. I love Braveheart. That's the thing.
What is Restoration?
Mel Gibson fits in the category of people where, to say what you will about how much of a piece of shit he is, that man knows how to direct a movie.
Mel Gibson?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's great. I love Apocalypto. I love The Passion of the Christ, dude. I always get a kick out of that movie when I watch it. That movie's bonkers.
Yeah, it's insane.
If you detach,
I do wish that there were more movies like that out there. There are not enough.
It is
hardcore religious films.
It is deeply anti-Semitic film. I can't help but resent that aspect of the movie. But if you just watch the movie as a high-budget mainstream film, first of all, its presence in the box office standings is just so scary and so interesting to me that it is one of the top-grossing films of all time, and it is basically just
Does it ever have a revival? I guess we're in the 20th anniversary. There must be.
Dude, there's going to be a sequel. I'm pretty sure that Jim Caviezel and Mel Gibson are working on a sequel.
No way. I'm there opening day, dude. That's a theater experience that I want to have.
I think the idea that Mel Gibson could work with Jim Caviezel also makes me feel like he's legitimately batshit insane. Because anybody who could work that closely with Jim Caviezel creatively has to be
Passion of the Christ 2.
Kind of crazy themselves.
The Passion of the Christ 2.
Passion of the Christ Resurrection.
No, they gotta call it Passion of the Christ 2.
Twoves.
I think he's a fine director. I'm much more interested in him as an actor. I think his 90s performances as a leading man option, some of the best.
Yeah, man. Ransom.
White dude performances from the 80s, 90s.
He's great in Ransom. He's great in. I haven't seen Conspiracy Theory, but you've told me that he's fantastic.
Conspiracy
yeah, he's
Theory.
great in that movie.
He's also great in Mad Max.
Yeah, he's
Lethal Weapon. All of the Lethal Weapons. Signs.
Oh, dude, Signs is a special place in my heart.
What Women Want.
Yes.
He's super charming.
That's a movie that I forget I've seen quite a few times.
You ever seen Father Stew?
Apparently, okay, so Mel Gibson's first movie was The Man Without a Face. Back from 1993, where he played a deformed man, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, man, deformed in a car accident.
That's always a fun. It's like Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, right?
Also a terrible movie. When's the last time you watched that movie?
Vanilla Sky? I don't remember anything about that movie.
I
watched it once.
Funny. It kind of has like a terrible Total Recall style ending. Where like at the end of the movie, you're like, they reveal the whole thing is, 'twas but a dream.
Yeah, I hate that now. I resent that kind of ending. Or like this person's schizophrenic and they're two different people.
It's all in their head. Yeah, exactly.
Like
that was like a big thing.
Secret Window.
Oh, is that what Secret Window is about?
Yeah.
Is Shutter Island about that too?
Oh, yeah. But some reason Shutter Island works for me. I just got it.
I've never seen it.
I like it because there's a twist on top of the twist that...
That's fun.
Yeah, like even though, sure, it's a little bit trite, the whole, oh, he's just a schizophrenic person. But I like the fact that at the end, he just would rather forget the revelation. Is kind of an interesting, bleak twist on the whole thing.
I like those kinds of endings. Like it's like a take the blue pill ending.
Yeah, he basically is just like, yeah, well, okay, well now we know. I don't really want to be that though. Yeah. I'm gonna go get lobotomized now.
Yeah. Then the next movie is Killers of a Flower Moon.
Yeah,
post
lobotomy. Doesn't he play a person with like a
he's like a useful idiot.
He's like a simple person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep, that's it. That perfect. Fan theories, bro.
I actually had a cool fan theory. The Raising Arizona fan theory. Did we talk about that last time?
No, that was yeah, we talked about a couple of other fan theories.
Leonard Smalls, the leather-wielding, motorcycle-riding bounty hunter, is really an older Nathan Jr. Nathan Jr. Arizona, the fat-cheeked, huggy-wearing baby MacGuffin. Is what they're saying.
Played by Randall Tex Cobb. Used to be in a bunch of movies back in that era. But yeah, I like this theory. I think that it actually makes sense. I mean, he has mysterious origins.
Yeah, Ryan Kirby on Letterboxd seems to be the origin of this theory. He says that there's some clever small things that seems to explain why they have the same tattoo and why H.I. seemingly turns over a new leaf when he obliterates the large bastard. The flames transmitting from his tires to the pavement is very similar to scenes from the time travel and Back to the Future, which came out just a few years around that time.
Now, really, the question is why does he have it out for high? I know that he's hired on, but there seems to be something extra, some extra level of hatred for Nicolas Cage's character. So I wonder if, in some way, say we're gonna honor this theory that him being kidnapped ruined his life in some way or sent him down a bad path. I wonder how that played out. That's the movie I want to see.
I wanted to ask you about these workout tapes.
Oh yeah. So to get you guys caught up on what's next for the GOAT, because we've got we're like Marvel here at TapeGoat Studios. We have our schedule cut out for us at all times, and you can trust me when I say that.
You have like a 4-year slate.
Yeah.
The logos are made. We made the logos.
Yeah, we got busy.
That's the first thing that we did. We did the logo.
And but anyway, so to ring in the new year of January, I'm going to be doing a series of videos that are going to serve as a retrospective of Richard Simmons' career. I have 6 Richard Simmons tapes. I have 3 Sweat into the Oldies, and then I have a couple additional tapes that cover different areas. They we use different products. Some of them are toning videos. Some of them are dance oriented. And this morning, I didn't watch all 6 all the way through, but I went through and did various workouts from all of the tapes. My promise to you viewers is that I'm going to continue doing Richard Simmons workouts for the next few months, and we can measure the results therein. Because they're pretty easy to do. Honestly, they're pretty easy to do at home. But yeah, that's how I spent a good chunk of my morning, is just doing workouts with Richard Simmons. And he just seems, he's like the Mr. Rogers of workout guys. I feel like he has a very sweet presence, a very wholesome vibe that I admire. And I did work up a bit of a sweat. I wasn't sweating as much as you would think,
sure,
but I also didn't watch them and get into the more high intensity workouts. I'm going to go back and really do the full gambit so I can tell you guys what I think was the most effective.
Yeah, I definitely think it would be fun. I mean, we need to see some of this.
Yeah,
are you gonna bring back the Shakti suit?
Yeah, I always got to wear my Shakti suit because it helps me really.
What is the Shakti suit?
The Shakti suit.
Explain to people what the Shakti suit is.
I wore it for the deep fans. That was what I was wearing in the episode about dancing grannies, and it gives me power. The suit gives me power. But yeah, I'm gonna go back. We're gonna rate everything on the sweatometer to see what makes this goat truly sweat.
You also have warning signs.
Oh yeah, warning examples for our day. A video that is very soon to come. That's coming down the pipeline, guys, and that's a Jehovah's Witness tape. And prepare to be scared. It's a scary film. It's well done, though. The production value is really, really great.
Did you ever find out who directed or like, was there a credit for the director?
So it is definitely distributed directly from Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania, because their name is all over it. And also of Brooklyn, too. Apparently this was distributed through a Brooklyn Jehovah's Witness
What's
headquarters.
the name of the video again?
Warning examples for our day. I actually, surprisingly, I did not track down. I didn't really do the homework and figuring out like the crews and stuff.
The IMDb has nothing.
I think that this was like made by the church. Yeah, keep your ears to the ground, people. Look out for ring that bell. You don't want to miss this. It's like,
Well, he's been on hold for like 15 minutes. Should we get Herman on?
alrighty, people. He's been on hold for 45 minutes, and he's here to tell us about his fitness goals for the new year of 2024. We got Herman from Studio City. Herman, let us know what you're thinking, buddy.
Sup, guys? It's your boy Herman here. I just wanted to call in to see what's up and give you guys an update on some films that I've been watching recently to get your opinion on them. The first of which is a little film from 2003 called The Last Samurai. Now, if you've never seen it, wow, go to your nearest computer or phone, go to Amazon.com and order the Blu-ray disc right now, and I'll tell you why. The film tells the story of Tom Cruise as a drunk, I think, Civil War guy, and he's traumatized by all, like, the bad stuff he did during the Civil War. And he goes to Japan and fights for the emperor against some rogue samurai who threaten the new world order of post-war Japan. And by post-war, I mean whatever war they had in the 1800s that would inevitably lead to the Industrial Revolution that started the everything that went down in World War II. But that's a story for another time. Trust me, I'm not going to get into the geopolitical history of Japan. That's just, there's no phone call long enough for me to really dive into that. Anyway, in this film, Tom Cruise, he goes from drunkard to hero. In the end, in the battlefield, he truly does become, well, the titular Last Samurai. And by the end, you'll have eyes full of tears and a craving for, coincidentally enough, some Japanese food. Now, whether the two things are related, I'm not too sure. I did watch this late at night when I was very hungry, and I don't typically eat my largest meal of the day until about 2:30 a.m., which is about 90 or so minutes before I usually go to sleep for the night. Now, definitely let me know what you think about The Last Samurai. I know the fans will probably like to know as well. Anyway, I really hope you answer this question that I'm calling in about. So, yeah, let me know.
Thanks for listening to TapeGoat at the Movies. I am TapeGoat. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. Don't forget to look us up on Patreon as well for just $5 a month. You can have early access to ad-free content like the TapeGoat videos and this very podcast, TapeGoat at the Movies. So yeah, if you are interested, please click the link in the description. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell.